Let's face it, everybody can do with a little help. Thatcher. Did you see the spectacular TV show the other day about Walden and Thatcher? A simply beautiful bit of writing and a beautiful bit of performing on ITV. But Thatcher took voice lessons from a lady in Central. And also, I believe she paid a secret visit to Sir Laurence Olivier, Lord Olivier, I think at the time, and she lowered her voice and slowed everything down, and this gave her gravitas, which I think she hadn't really got. She had enthusiasm, she had passion, and vocal exercises. Do you know? I think I probably did do a little humming. Uh, gave gave her this lower register and pause. And but the point is, we change our personalities a little to suit our audience. And I think it was Emerson who said that we have as many personalities as we have friends. And and when you're performing, that is the power of pretend and and an actor who may be nondescript in real life. It is fortified by this power of pretending to be someone, and that effort of developing the character, even if that character is you, is a significant investment of energy and time and effort. And so certainly as somebody who was on a reality TV show, I found trying to be me was quite a labour, and it wasn't until I'd had a run in with Richard Madeley that I actually discovered who the me could be on television. What version of me worked on camera, and once I'd got it, I felt, oh, I can inhabit this character. But I was aware that it was a character, and and when I'm doing YouTube, I'm aware that there are characters going on in my head. Sometimes sometimes various people like Frankie Howard slip in, and or Max Miller or Jimmy James is a wonderful one, because all these characters. All these wonderful comics from the 1960s, 1950s, and so on, they had these characters that they brought on, that were sort of living in their head, and they brought them into the center stage, and they not only did they have their own the personality that was the Frankie Howard, the Max Miller, the Jimmy James, the whatever character it was, but they also had these additional characters that they bring on with their funny voices, and so on. And I think that's a little bit of what Keir Starmer has been doing, and he too has had vocal lessons for about 5 years. I think the lady who was giving him vocal lessons masqueraded as a necessary a necessary individual during COVID, and so possibly there is a question about whether or not she should have been going into his house. But you know, during the various lockdown scenarios. But uh, now he's in now he's in the EU, having conversations with EU leaders. I think that's tremendous. The first post-Brexit prime minister to do so, and I find it so sad that Boris, who spoke very who speaks very competent French, albeit with a very odd accent, um, was never really given that opportunity, because he led us out of Europe and and into Brexit. And Keir Starmer's so-called reset of EU-UK relations, a phrase that in certain quarters is causing heart palpitations. It is in my quarter, but the heart palpitations are are thumps of joy. And some Brexiteers, of course, in contrast, see this as a calculated betrayal, a slow march, surrender back into Brussels' unnerving embrace. And others argue it's much needed recalibration of a relationship that since 2016 has been characterised more by political tantrums than pragmatic diplomacy. Critics, particularly those on the right, warn that Starmer is leading Britain into the worst of all worlds, rule-taking without representation, regulatory entanglement without control, and crucially, at risk of economic retaliation from an increasingly protectionist America that sees Europe as the adversary. The Sunday Express and prominent Brexiteers such as Kemi Badenoch and Mark Francois argue that the UK will be reduced to a serf of the EU, beholden to Brussels' whims without the sovereignty Brexit was supposed to deliver. Indeed, the Sunday Express ran with the slogan that Keir Starmer was edging. I don't think he's edging at all. So he's edging us into the EU. Well, as I say, I don't think really there's a lot of edging going on. I think he's rather more testing the waters, seeing whether or not an EU option would float. And so today he comes out and says, no, we're not going to do it. So one voice for no, one voice for yes. It's like the little figures going in and out of the Swiss clock. One is rain, one is sunshine. Keir Starmer is both. He's a very versatile entertainer, edging this way, edging that way, seeing which way the wind is blowing. And so the people who think that there's a problem about fishing rights or the beginning of a slippery slope, I think that they're just going to have to put up or shut up, because frankly, Starmer is going to continue adopting both positions. He'll put out one idea and the newspapers will follow that. He'll see how what response there is, and then he'll put out the other idea. Starmer is engaged in stealth reintegration, too nervous to admit it outright, but eager to soften Brexit's harder edges in the name of economic pragmatism. Absolutely. The key factor here is the potential return of dynamic alignment, where Britain would voluntarily follow EU regulations to ensure smooth trade. And this, for Brexiteers, is, of course, anathema. A nation that fought to reclaim sovereignty should not, they argue, be bound by laws made in Brussels without a seat at the table. But we surrendered our seat. That was what Boris did for us. Badenoch's 5 red lines. No free movement, no payment to the EU, no loss of fishing rights. I can follow her up to that point. And then no ECJ jurisdiction and NATO primacy and European security. The last 2 points are completely trite. You know, it's as if she's run out of points there and I'm just making it up as I go along. Brace! They're intended as a political tripwire for Starmer. It's got nothing to do with consistency. It's got to do with, can anyone follow these words? If he crosses one of these lines, the accusation of a Brexit betrayal will gain further traction. Well, he's out for a Brexit betrayal. He doesn't want Brexit. Let's face the fact. And nor does the majority of Britain now. Adding to the drama is the possibility of a trade war with America. And Donald Trump, should he return to the White House, has vowed to impose tariffs on the EU, which could in turn impact the UK, whether trade tariffs are directly imposed on us or not. Critics argue that by moving closer to Brussels, Britain risks alienating its largest single-country trading partner, one that already sees the UK as a useful wedge against the European powers. Well, yeah. I mean, that is if we were trading so enthusiastically with America. We're not. Our biggest trading partner is Europe. So in the pursuit of pursuing further, smoother European relations, Britain could fall between 2 economic stools, neither pleasing Washington nor Brussels. Well, that's absolutely true. Starmer, for his part, insists that Brexit is done and dusted and there will be no return to the single market. Well, that's what he said today. Yesterday, he was edging in all directions. And today he's saying, well, the edging's over. I think we're going to stay in Brexit. He was testing the waters. The reality is that Britain's economy has suffered from severed EU trade links, and Starmer's approach is in essence a damage limitation exercise. And despite Brexit rhetoric, Britain still needs the EU for security, for trade, for investment, and because it's our nearest partner And we are part of the continent. A pragmatic leader cannot ignore that fact. The UK has already struck deals for deeper cooperation in research and defence, in energy, areas that require cross-border collaboration. For Starmer, the challenge is striking a balance, improving trade and security ties without igniting fears of a reversal. Starmer's strategy is a political tightrope walk. If he moves too far towards the EU, he risks alienating Leave voters who lent Labour their support in the 2019 Red Wall collapse. If he's too cautious, Remainers will question why he's not doing more to undo the economic damage of Brexit. But Labour is becoming unpopular enough that the SNP is going to be fired with enthusiasm in Holyrood, and probably there will be more independence votes cast than ever before, because Labour is disintegrating. That is one of the disasters that Keir Starmer is overseeing. Meanwhile, figures like Nigel Farage are watching with glee, ready to seize on any perceived betrayal to fuel their next populist surge. Shouldn't Farage be protecting our union? Shouldn't Farage be trying to make sure that something is working for Starmer? In the end, all these politicians, they're so desperate for their next election, which isn't for another 5 years, that they've lost sight of their real purpose and their real duty, which is to protect Britain. So, is Starmer selling out Brexit, or is he merely acknowledging the inescapable reality that Britain cannot afford to be a pariah on its own continent? His critics see a capitulation, his supporters see a course correction. The real test will be whether this reset actually delivers tangible economic and security benefits, and if it does, the Brexit ultras may fume, but the electorate may shrug and move on. And if, however, Britain finds itself bound by EU rules with little in return, the narrative of Brexit betrayal could gather dangerous momentum. One thing's certain: in Britain's ongoing saga with Europe, I'm afraid the drama is far from over.